Viewing Andromeda was one of my dreams when I had my telescope. But it isn't a very easy task as I'm living in a city with light pollution of Bortle scale 9. Andromeda is the closest galaxy to the Milky Way, and it is predicted to collide with our galaxy in approximately 4.5 billion years. Each moment it is getting closer and closer to us, yet it is fairly a faint object in the night sky. This video is about how I tried to capture the picture of this galaxy in the middle of the city lights with just a basic camera and a stock lens with a cheap tripod. Hello fellow humans, I'm back. Andromeda, a big galaxy which is 4 times wider than our own galaxy, Milky Way. Even though it is too big, it is still a small object in the sky viewed from Earth, as it is 2.5 million light years away from Earth. It is famously called as Andromeda Galaxy as it is located in the star constellation Andromeda. It is also known as M31 or Messiah 31 and also as NGC 224. The word Andromeda is from the Greek mythology, who is the daughter of Cassiopeia. Similarly, you can find star constellation Andromeda beside Cassiopeia in the sky. Historically, it was first observed by a Persian astronomer, al-Rahman al-Sufi, in 10th century. But until 1920, it wasn't concluded as a separate galaxy. Till then, it was assumed as Andromeda Nebula. With recent developments in the space observing technologies, we managed to capture stunning images with a lot of details in it. The Hubble telescope played a major role in this analysis, and I'm excited to see what James Webb telescope will send us. Now coming back to how I took the image of Andromeda and how it turned out. At the moment I only have a stock camera Canon Rebel T3 and probably in a month or two I'll try to astro modify it. But for now I have to use what I possess. This is really a cheap and a basic camera. I bought it from a nice lady in Facebook Marketplace for $200 and a tripod with a 70 to 300mm lens for additional $70. So my entire setup costs less than $300. With this limited equipment, I also face the problem with weather, as the temperature here is around -7 degrees Celsius and it feels like -15 degrees Celsius, which makes it impossible for me to stay out long and shoot. In order to shoot Andromeda, Bortle scale 6 or lower would be good, or at least to use some light pollution filter. But due to dry cold winter, I decided not to travel outside the city limits and make this attempt in center of Warsaw. Moreover, I don't even have a light pollution filter. Due to the built-in IR cut filter in my camera, it is not going to capture the infrared spectrum of lights. I made sure that my camera batteries are fully charged. I have got 2 full batteries and an empty 64GB SD card. Since my camera doesn't have an automatic setting to capture number of pictures in a certain interval, I need to use an intervalometer. This intervalometer allows me to take a series of pictures automatically. I don't have a tracker mount, so I use this camera tripod to shoot multiple untracked shots, so I don't need to polar align anything. I also did a little bit of homework to navigate in the sky and find Andromeda. In the dark night sky, it is easy to find the star constellation Cassiopeia, which looks like a stretched W or just zigzag stars. Besides that, you will see a line of stars, which is the Andromeda constellation. And the Andromeda galaxy is located more or less 1/3 of the distance from Andromeda constellation towards Cassiopeia. It was easy for me to detect those constellations, but I couldn't see Andromeda galaxy with my naked eye. I decided to take few long exposure shots to identify if I am looking at the right spot. But with the 300mm lens, it was pretty hard to make sure that the object is in the frame all the time, since any slight movement that I make while changing some settings in the camera moves the position of it and kicks Andromeda out of the frame. To avoid the confusion, I decided to go with 150mm focal length. Before I set the intervalometer, I took few test shots to confirm if the Andromeda is in the right frame. To my surprise, it was. I saw one small smudge in the frame among all the sharp bright stars, which confirmed that I am focusing on Andromeda. The elongated smudge that we see is just the core of the galaxy. The outer spiral arms are there, but they are much fainter and so harder to see. A large telescope with an aperture of 12 inches or more will show you the arms, mainly by the virtue of the contrast between the arms and the dark dust lanes between them. Overall size of M31 in the sky is impressive. That's an apparent size equal to one full moon. My camera allows me to shoot until ISO 6400, but I have decided to shoot at 3200, which allows me to capture significant light with not that much noise in the image. I set the exposure at 3.2 seconds per image. This is the maximum that I could go before I noticed the stars trailing. If I would have used 300 mm focal length, then I would have restricted myself to 2-second exposure time, but reducing the focal length to 150 mm gave me some extra room for exposure. In terms of f-stop, I have no other choice other than shooting at 5.2 f. That's the fastest that I could go with my lens. This is not a telescope lens or a telephoto lens. This is just a stock lens which came along with the camera. Then it was time to let the intervalometer and my camera to do the magic. I set the camera to take 100 pictures, and I also took 40 of each calibration frames. Even though my camera was on only for 30 minutes or so, my camera started giving me the notifications that the battery is low. As it was too cold outside, my batteries were draining too fast. Once the images were captured, I rushed straight back into the room and started copying all the files into my laptop. It's always better to have multiple copies of the raw data. I first fed all the images through Adobe Lightroom and made few changes in the white balance or color settings. I exported those images to Stack in Deep Sky Stacker, which is an open source tool that automatically detects the stars and stacks the images. This is really a helpful tool for untracked shots. Now this is how it looks after stacking 100 pictures. The steps from here are really simple but requires high skills, which I lack for now, but I tried my best to stretch the details of the image and make it look better. My image was really good considering the budget, and it shows the clear outline of two dwarf galaxies of Andromeda. NGC 205 and NGC 221 are the satellite galaxies of Andromeda, which is something that I didn't expect to see. Overall, the session was really productive and had a lot of takeaways for me. Budget, skills, and technique are the three most important things in astronomy. Even though I lacked the budget and skill, I think I used the right technique, which allowed me to capture this wonder. I hope you enjoyed this video. Maybe meet again. Clear skies.